McQuinn, and I'm absolutely delighted to be one of the judges for the baby and toddler section of the Jericho Prize this year. Writing for the under fives is a lifelong passion of mine, so I could probably actually talk for about 4 days about it, but I'm going to try and distill down to 3 or 4 points that I think it would be good for you to keep in mind when you're writing for this age group. I'd like to start by sharing this little book called Water. So it's a little story about a little boy called James. This is him in his bath with his duck. It's his blue bath, and when he's in the bath, the water comes up to his knees. But then when his dog, who's called Rupert, comes along and Rupert gets into the bath, the water comes up and flows over the edge of the bath. So this is actually Archimedes' principle for the under fives. And the reason I'm showing it to you is to really just make the point that no subject, no topic is off limits, and nothing is too difficult really for this age group. It's how you do it. What they've done so cleverly, Bob Graham, who I love by the way, what he's done so cleverly is to take the principle and then put it in terms that will engage a small child. So there's a bath and a duck and a dog and a little boy called James, and he manages to make it relevant and engaging. And that's the trick really you need to pull off, is to take your subject and really think about what the child reader, what will be meaningful for them, what will engage them. And I think then you can just write about any subject matter. So the second thing I'm going to talk about is the experience of reading. If you think about the child reader, this age group, quite often this will be in the evening, maybe just before bedtime. They're feeling secure and loved. They're sitting on mom or dad's lap. So, give mom or dad something to work with. I would almost always try and go for a story. And I don't mean a really complicated thing with like characters and a plot and stuff. I mean just a beginning, middle and end, something quite simple, but something that mom and dad and child can really engage with and comment on and have a discussion about. So I would say avoid things. I really don't like these kind of things where you have a word. So you have raincoat and an image. That really isn't giving mom and baby something nice to engage with. And I would say, for the love of all that's holy, don't do shapes. Anybody who knows me knows I rant about this. And if you do your research and you go into bookshops, you will find lots of these kind of books, counting and shapes and colors and things, on the shelves in the baby and toddler section. But if you think about a little child sitting on mom's lap and they're just learning to say, they can say mom and dad and juice maybe, or dog, and then you sit down to read with them and you say, this ball is a circle, and you expect them to be interested in circle. Aside altogether from the fact that actually it's not a circle is flat, this is a sphere. And I think this is because you're trying to simplify it for a baby, so you've already kind of gone off down the wrong track. So they have a sphere, which is, they're saying is a circle, and then they have squares, which of course are not squares, they're cubes, and then they have a triangle. And I would say really, we don't need triangles in books for the under fives. They can be doing that later. So the third thing I'd like to talk about is, and this is true of picture books as well, but particularly books for babies and toddlers are always read aloud by mom or dad or granny, whoever is reading. So your word choice, you're going to be thinking about word choice in terms of the best word for your story or the emotion that you're trying to evoke. But I think for this age group, it really behoves you to also think about how it sounds. It's why obviously for a lot of books for this age group have rhyme. And I think that's wonderful. Kids really enjoy it, and it's part of how they're learning language. But rhyme is actually quite hard to do. So I think, be careful with it. I think the worst thing you see is somebody who's writing, and because they want to rhyme, say with slow, and they say, and out of the door he did go. And you think they've turned the sentence upside down, inside out, in order to try and make it rhyme. So I think, you'll find some topics as you're writing, rhyme will kind of come naturally and roll with it. And you might find there's 2 pages in the middle that are quite hard, and you have to work really hard to make that work. But if it's not working, don't feel rhyme is the only way to have interesting language. I think one of the really easy, nice things to do is to have a repeat phrase that mom can say, and baby might even learn, toddler could certainly learn, and they might, will enjoy saying it back to mom when they come to that part of the story each time. So repeat phrases can be nice, and they can rhyme. You could just have, excuse me, a small bit of rhyme. And the other thing I particularly like is alliteration. I think it can really, it's as joyful and pleasurable to say and to hear as rhyme. So I thought I would just end this by showing you a little book that I was asked actually by the publishers to do a bedtime routine story. And I did think, you know, it's kind of a bath, bed, pajamas, sleep. How can I do something individual with that? But I had to go, and this is the outcome, and I'm really pleased with it now. But there's one spread I'd like to share with you. One of the things I noticed that isn't in a lot of the bath book bed routine books is moisturizing, which is very important for a lot of small babies. So I wanted to put that in. I thought, so the text says, "Dreamy cream is a caress on his soft skin." So I think you have the dreamy cream, which is rhyme, and then you have caress on his soft skin. So throughout the book, I've used quite a lot of S, like dozy and lazy and cozy sounds, because it's, you know, Z's and sleep, and I wanted to evoke that kind of atmosphere. And the caress is kind of very suggestive of the love between the mum and the baby. I think it works as a little piece of text in being really pleasurable to say and pleasurable to hear. And what I really like to think might happen is that if you're reading this with a toddler, when it comes to, in real life, you're coming to put on moisturizer, you might say, let's use the dreamy cream. Or he might say it, the toddler might say it. So you have the book reflecting life, and then you might, if things go really well, have life reflecting the book. And I think when that happens, that's really a joy. So that's the last of my 3 hints. I really look forward to reading your submissions. Thank you.